My trailer actually changed throughout the whole of my campaign development. So there wasn't a specific trailer which I focused my inspiration from. However, I did watch a variety of trailers such as The Woman in Black, The Purge, You're Next and Devoured. All of those are either horror or psychological horror. And I did decide to challenge forms conventions from these professional products. Firstly, I challenged the forms and conventions in terms of the soundtrack. Whilst incorporating distorted psychological non-diegetic soundtrack, I juxtaposed a piano soundtrack at the beginning of my trailer. From watching You're Next and The Purge, both trailers begin with an equilibrium.
I just want you all to know how much it means to us that you're all
and
here.
dramatically turn into disequilibrium, which is
Just
communicated through the
up with
soundscape, mise-en-scène and cinematography. In You're Next, the contrapuntal and ironic soundtrack of Perfect Day is playing throughout the disequilibrium, which very much challenges the conventions of a psychological horror. However, it does make it creepy and almost comedic in the sense that the protagonists are clearly not having a perfect day. I wanted to use something slightly contrapuntal within the non-diegetic sound, but I did it in a more subtle way by having the background music as a piano during the disequilibrium. Within this scene of Devoured, although it's not identical, you can hear the soft piano style is present. The scenes, although are completely different, hold the same purpose. They ease the audience in before the disequilibrium strikes. I decided that the scene that should be something normal from everyday life, which would give the appearance of an equilibrium. However, I did have ideas that came from using the kettle and its connotations. To me, I used the kettle to symbolise the building climax of the protagonist's anxiety, suggesting that soon she would boil over, hence the repetition of the shot in numerous parts of the trailer. I also did this with the ticking clock shot, as it would unnerve the audience and create suspense. I also mirrored another shot from Devoured, which was the door slamming scene. I found this was a really I took inspiration from a shot from Devoured, which was the door slamming scene. In Devoured, the door slams within the first minute of the within the trailer, which is it's very early on, and which is one of the horror signifiers. But within my trailer, the door slam is included in the montage towards the end of the trailer. Because I had limitations with location and technologies, I found it harder to create suspense through the mise-en-scène, like Devoured did. So the door slamming scene for me was one of the most shocking shots that I did, whereas in Devoured it was just one of the build-up shots. So that's how I had to kind of challenge the conventions, because I didn't have the budget and things like that for really exciting, shocking shots. So one of my main inspirations from professional products was The Mask, and the whole costume for my antagonist. After seeing the poster from The Purge at a bus stop, I realised I wanted my antagonist to be anonymous. By that I mean the way in which they did things and their crimes and things like that would be more terrifying if they didn't have an identity. And although my genre did change and develop from a horror to a psychological horror / thriller, I did want to make sure that my mask was original to my campaign, and it wasn't anything like media text I'd seen before. So I went into an art shop and I found like a paper mache mask, which is like this. And it was nothing I'd ever seen before, so I thought it was quite original. And I got my main inspiration from that from The Purge, which is a mask which is smiling. And although that shouldn't be creepy, it is, because you can't see the face behind the mask, so that's what I really liked about that one. Unlike most of the trailers I watched, my trailer actually only featured 2 characters. This wasn't originally through choice. It was due to my refilm schedule and how I had to refilm the entire trailer after my rough cut and change my concept. So originally it wasn't actually meant to happen that way. However, by challenging that convention, I actually it was actually how I wanted it to work out. And within this shot you can unlike most of the trailers I watched, my trailer only featured 2 main characters, the antagonist and the protagonist. This was because I had to refilm my trailer after my rough cut because I wasn't happy with how it had turned out, and with that I changed the concept from a horror to a psychological horror / thriller. And although I did change my genre, I thought it would be, unlike most of the trailers that I'd watched, my campaign was the only one which had featured 2 main characters, the antagonist and the protagonist. Most of the ones I watched, like You're Next and The Purge, had either a family in, so it would appeal to that type of audience, like a family, as they can relate to those. However, mine was just the protagonist and the antagonist, which I felt like worked well because it was more of a psychological film, more about paranoia. So having more than a couple of actors in it probably wouldn't have worked as well. So although it wasn't intentional, in the end I feel like it benefited my trailer more by just having 2, because it was more psychological and worked better for my genre. Within this shot you can see a still from The Woman in Black, where the protagonist is looking down from a window, and then moments later the monstrous other, the Woman in Black, is seen to appear up from over his shoulder. And although this shot does not actually conform to the conventions of a psychological horror, as it's a high angle shot which would traditionally be shown to show power, it's been used to suggest anxiety and from the framing in the shot, as it symbolises entrapment. So as you can see from this shot, within this is what I tried to recreate, with my protagonist stood at a window looking down. And obviously, although I don't have the antagonist appearing behind her, as it's a psychological and it's more to do with the protagonist's mental unravelling, I wanted it to be just her on her own and her physical entrapment within that window, and that was reflective of her mental entrapment. I decided to set my filming location to be in a home. It was easy for me to film in my own home as I had complete freedom to use it in any way that I liked. And also in all of the trailers I watched and analysed, they were either set in a house or had scenes in a household. So I was obviously conforming with this type of location. I think with this location it is an invasion of personal space, and it's taken away the safe zone, which you would associate with a house as being like safe. So by creating my campaign and my trailer within a household, it creates an anxiogenic atmosphere and completely removes the safe zone from a household. So I conform to the convention that would be expected, due to it being a hybrid genre. The invasion of a home was very important to me to recreate, because although it was an invasion of a home and a safe zone, it was also an invasion of the mind, which is what I wanted to recreate, which was, I had lots of little signifiers which kind of pointed towards like repetitive stages, so like making a cup of tea. And something which would seem very plain, but put with the music and the non-diegetic soundtrack, it makes it a little bit more unnerving, and it built up quite a bit. As you can see within the intertitles, between a professional product here, which is Devoured, the climax builds at an intertitle, which is what I tried to do in mine as well. So I feel like I have conformed in some ways to professional products. However, I didn't want to just stick to copying, so I've kind of went against those in some ways to make sure that my product was original and true to the genre I'd created, which was a hybrid between psychological and horror.